The problem is you need to bleed brakes. And when you go to get the shop unit, somebody else is using it. And when you finally get it, it's out of brake fluid. And this thing holds a lot of fluid and takes a long time to fill. Or you may have this older style that is extremely hard to fill and has a bladder in it. And when the bladder goes bad, it's super expensive to fix. Perhaps you have a car that requires a special brake fluid, or you have this one guy that brings in his own special brake fluid that you absolutely have to use, and you're certainly not going to empty these guys out and put this stuff in because that takes a long time. So you resort to the vacuum unit, and that really sucks. And that's because when you have the suction coming through this hose and it's connected to the bleeder screw like this, it does create a vacuum right here which sucks out the fluid, but at the same time it sucks air down through the threads and out through the bleeder screw and through the hose, and that creates a continuous stream of bubbles, so you never know if you have the air out of the brake system, which is the whole purpose of bleeding it. And if that wasn't enough, you constantly have to add fluid to the reservoir while you're sucking it out, and if you accidentally run it dry, you have to start the whole process all over. The solution is the AGA Tools Brake Pressure Bleeder. This unit is compact, handy, and inexpensive. It's a true pressure bleeder. It has a 2.5 liter capacity. It automatically fills the brake fluid reservoir while bleeding the brakes, making it a one-person job. Changing fluid out on this is a breeze. Why is that important? Well, when you use high performance, high boiling point brake fluid like this, it's very expensive, and you end up using two of these guys just to fill the bleeder, where with this guy, there's very little waste. AGA Tools developed this product with our sister company, AGM. AGM has been developing off-road racing products for years, and now also products for the UTV market. Here we've been getting a lot of requests for a product like this, as well as from automotive shops. Let's go over how this works. Connect the air hose, open the air valve, adjust the pressure regulator inward to increase pressure until you reach 10 psi. Then snug up the adjustment nut and fairly tighten. Being that the unit has its own built-in pressure regulator, you can adjust it to the shop air at the track, or you can even use a CO2 bottle and adjust it to the 10 psi of charge pressure, since the air consumption is very low. Fill the unit with the correct fluid that you want to use for the application. Avoid using more fluid than necessary, even though this unit, when the valve is closed, is sealed off both on the exit and the inlet side. Fluid stores best in a sealed container. If your brake fluid reservoir is extremely dirty and has very dark fluid and debris in it, you can pull the brake fluid reservoir off the master cylinder. It's typically held in place only by these compression rubber grommets, which should be replaced if they're cracking or dried and will not properly seal. To clean the reservoir, you can wash it out with hot water until it's perfectly clean, but make sure that you blow all residual water and moisture out of it with compressed air before reinstalling it. Make sure to cover painted surfaces, as the brake fluid could damage the paint. If you have a reservoir that's just slightly dirty and is more done as a routine, you can start by sucking the majority of the fluid out and refilling it with new fluid, whatever you took out. This will speed up the bleeding process. This avoids pushing all the dirty fluid through the system. We installed the AGA Brake Pressure Bleed Cap European onto the brake reservoir. It seems like that's the one thing the European automakers can agree on. This cap fits BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, Mini, and many others. For racing, we make Tilton, CNC, Can-Am, Polaris. For other applications, see our webpage. Stand or hang the unit, connect the hose to the cap. Connect the air hose, turn on the air. Fluid will flow through this hose to the reservoir. Bubbles here are normal and not a problem. This hose is made by a special material that will remain flexible and clear for a very long time. Once you're at the caliper, hang the cat's can on a wheel bolt or brake caliper like this. Install the wrench, connect the bleed hose, which is also very high quality and will remain clear for a long time and not get stiff from the brake fluid. On this end we have a very flexible silicone hose that makes a good connection to the bleeder. Now open the bleeder and you'll see the fluid starting to flow out. Give it a little bit of time and you'll see a slight change in color as the new fluid enters into the bleed bottle. While bleeding, you can observe the stream of fluid coming into the cat's can that is also clear. Once this is completed, close the caliper bleed screw like this. If you're doing a 4-piston application like this, and the caliper has an inside and an outside bleeder screw, it's good practice to start with the outside, get all the dirty fluid out of the caliper, then move to the inside to make sure this is clear for air as well. There's no need to pump the pedal while bleeding the brakes. However, there is a few exceptions. If replacing a master cylinder and the master cylinder is at an angle like that, whether it's in a production vehicle or a race car, air could get trapped in the area in here. But still, no need to actually push and bleed. Just simply touch the brake pedal a couple of times to move the piston forward and eliminate the air pocket. If you're bleeding a car with a manual transmission and a clutch, make sure to also bleed the clutch slave cylinder on the transmission. I've seen some slave cylinders with some super nasty fluid in them because it often gets overlooked. To make your life easier and get that perfectly bled brake system, get your brake pressure bleeder at agatools.com. If you want to see other cool tools, remember to subscribe.